How's it going, guys? Cody, guys, back again, dropping yet another video. Surprise, surprise, guys. As you can see from the title of this video, another officer has been arrested over an alleged relationship with a prisoner. I'm sick of hearing these stories, guys. And again, 22-year-old female, Holme House prison up in the northeast. Just absolutely unbelievable. If it was up to me, I wouldn't have women working in male prisons. It would cut down on corruption, sexual relationships. Once these women are falling in love with these prisoners, that they're not these prisoners. I'm sorry to say that if these officers think, oh, but he loves me, doesn't he? No, he doesn't love you, sweetheart, right? He probably won't touch you if he was on the out. But in prison, the ugliest of officers become the best looking, but there are also a lot of good looking officers. We know this. The thing is, these officers, they must see stories about other prison officers being arrested and caught and captured and getting sent to prison or getting suspended sentences, whatever the case may be. But they're just clueless. They literally, prisoners are masters of manipulation and will always seek to exploit weakness, whether that's in another prisoner, the security of the prison, or in this case, a prison officer and also other prisoners. Anyway, going to jump into it. This is on Teesside Live, link in the description below like I always do. Headline reads, Holme House prison officer under investigation over alleged relationship with inmate. A source claimed the officer was frog-marched out of the prison after being seen on CCTV. A prison officer is under investigation for an alleged sexual relationship with an inmate at Holme House prison. Teesside Live understands. A prison officer was said to have been frog-marched out of the Stockholm prison after suspicions of concerning behaviour came to light. A source who did not want to wish to be named said an officer was suspected last week to be having a relationship with one of the prisoners. They added, she got frog-marched out of the prison after being seen on CCTV. The inmate's friends were standing guard and they were all getting supplied with drugs and phones, pardon me. A prison service spokesman said a prison officer was suspended for alleged misconduct in public office. This matter has been referred to the police and it will be inappropriate to comment further. It's understood the member of staff no longer works for Her Majesty's Prison and Probation Service. A spokeswoman for Cleveland Police said a 22-year-old woman was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in a public office and has been released under investigation while inquiries follow. So I've got to be careful how I say things because there's a police investigation ongoing and if she is charged and it goes to court, I could be found guilty of contempt and everything. I don't know if there's report restrictions and everything like that, but it's not at that stage yet. But the fact she no longer works for the prison service, has she quit? Has she been sacked? They couldn't really sack her if she'd not been charged. So one would lead to believe that she's actually quit her job in disgrace before she's sacked. These relationships, right? The thing is, I'm for prisoners, right? So I shouldn't really have an issue with this, but it just angers me a great deal that another stupid, young, naive, gullible, silly girl, because that's what she is, silly girl, right, has fallen for another, right, cons are very charming, right, so it shouldn't really be shocked, right, but the thing is, when you've got these young officers, 22-year-old, right, good-looking officers doing all the makeup, with having their eyebrows tattooed and looking collagen on the lips and all that crazy stuff, right, you've got to look and think, like, your job is worth more than it. Like I said, it could have just been a business relationship where she was being offered money to bring contraband in. Goes down that way. Some people want to top up the wages. It could have been a sexual relationship where she had the hots for him. The prisoner, like I said, the prisoner can fall for her, but if the prisoner's getting sex, we don't know if this is the case in this case, but if the prisoner's getting sex or dirty videos and dirty pictures and he's having it away with the screws, he's bragging to the other cons are like, some of them get jealous, some of them are sweet with it, and the boys are buzzing, because once you've got once you've compromised her, you can then blackmail her to bring in contraband and everything else. And threats can start happening. Oh, we know your home address. We're going to target you. You've got an husband. We're going to tell the governor of the jail what you're up to, you dirty cow, and all this sort of stuff. And it does go on that way. Some people do it under duress. But like I said, to fall in the trap in the first place, right? But the thing is, if you're an officer at that prison as well, right? Like I said, I'm for prisoners, but I'm giving the flip side of the coin. If you work in that prison, by this 22-year-old officer, former officer, allegedly bringing in contraband, allegedly, because obviously she's not been charged yet, innocent until proven guilty, we know that all too well on this channel. Yeah, if she's been bringing in contraband and everything like that, and it's just not worth your job, and more of these officers are doing it, and yeah, but she's allegedly been bringing drugs in. If you're an officer at that prison, right, and you're a straight head, right, i.e. you go to work and it's a job and you go home, right, you're undermining the security of the prison. You're also, by bringing in contraband into prison, contraband, what comes with that? Debt. Where you've got debt, you've got fear, intimidation, bullying and violence. So unfortunately, people at the bottom of the prisoners at the bottom, not the weaker members, so to speak, but yeah, the weaker members, I want to say it, the ones that are either vulnerable, I'm not talking about sex cases, I'm talking about mental health, addictions, things like that. Prisoners that are not coping, they might be self-medicating with illicit drugs because they can't cope with prison, or they're trying to escape the reality of the surroundings, or to escape for a few hours by getting on some mind-bending drugs or spice, or whatever the case may be. You incur debt and stuff like that, and it's like shooting fish in a barrel. And the people at the bottom, the vulnerable ones, the people with mental health, the people with addictions, they're very vulnerable to the dealers on the wings. And like I said, contraband incurs debt. Debt, what comes with that if you can't pay? Fear, intimidation, bullying, and violence. A lot of prisoners, they might not have any money coming in. They might not be working in the prison. They might have no money in the savings or in the spends, in the private cash, and they're there and they're being offered drugs on tick, and the body's telling them, "I'll tell them what I need to tell the dealer because I need to get the drugs." So then you can't pay when you say you're going to pay. It gets double. Eventually, someone offers a ball of spice or some drugs or some money or some whatever. Someone comes into your pad and deals with you. So that's a domino effect of a prison officer becoming compromised. Also, mobile phones. Mobile phones are used for many different reasons within prison, from intimidating witnesses, if that's the case, to speaking to girlfriends, partners. Some prisons go on dating apps. Some people use it to run their criminal empire from prison. We know this. Some prisoners just use it to keep in contact with the kids and the family. I know that sounds strange, but it's true. Some people arrange to bring parcels in, and because you can't talk on the prison phone in a criminal sense because them calls are recorded. You understand? That can be used in evidence against you. Further charges can be laid at your door. You're in prison, you might be on remand, you might be sentenced. You don't want to be racking up more charges. Prison mobile phone is also cheaper than the prison phone as well. But this officer, another 22-year-old, silly girl, another 22-year-old, right, probably rough as toast. And then, like I said, but to a prisoner, she might be pretty as well. There's some pretty prison officers in jail as well. But if I was in charge of the prison service, I would cut down, not in a sexist way, women can do the job just as good as men. I wouldn't have women working in prisons, in male prisons. Corruption, sexual, you cannot help who you're sexually attracted to. I genuinely believe that, right? You cannot. So when these officers are working on, not normally, unless they're on general duties or operational support grades, they'll be working on pretty much the same wings, right? They might cover on another wing, or you've got to cover over there, but they should have set wings ordinarily. Now, if you're seeing the same prisoners coming out of the shower, they've got a towel on, they're walking down the landing in the sliders and got the top off, or they're in the gym and looking a bit hench, or you're just attracted to them in general, that prisoner will pick up on that, or he'll flirt with you back, and then he sees that, he tests the water and see how it goes, and then, but prisoners don't care about these officers, right? He just thinks, you know what, I used it, I got the phones and I got the drugs in for the boys, I was making dough. If it was drugs and the phones, he might have sold the phones on, he might have kept them for himself, he might have rented them out, might have been selling the drugs. Once the drugs get into the prison, as soon as they cross that threshold, the price can go up 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 times what it does on the streets, depending on supply and demand. What I mean by supply and demand, if you're the only person on the wing with drugs, with that specific drug, because there's obviously, if you've got, example, look at coronavirus now. Prisons locked down, visits are slowly coming back, but it's taking time. But one of the smuggling routes to get into prison, there are others, we know, but one of the smuggling routes is through visits. Now, all visits, apart, I think legal visits may have continued in some capacity, but all social visits were seized. across the country. Right now, that seizes up the smuggling route. Now we know officers bringing it in, and we know all the routes that they come in and stuff like that, which I won't go into. But you can all use your minds, and if you've been in prison, you'll know. So that route's been cancelled, right? So it's just one of these crazy things. I'm sorry, my focus just went then. I was completely, I was on it then. But yeah, so what I was saying, so as soon as the drug gets over the threshold into the prison, the price can go up massive amounts, right? Now, like I said, because the smuggling route of social visits has been cancelled, right, for the last 3-4 months, it's closed that route, right? So I've completely lost my focus again. Right, so if there's a drought, right, and you're the only person with a drug, you can charge X amount, a higher amount. If you've got several prisoners on the wing that are selling the same particular drug, right, if your prices are up here and other people's are down there, what's going to happen? Like a marketplace, they'll undercut you. You can lose. At the end of the day, the drug is, the spy says, they don't care who they're getting the drug from, as long as they are getting the drug. And if it's cheaper, then they can get more. The more you get, the more potent it is, the more high you can get for longer. So it's like a marketplace. So like I said, this is what comes with contraband. And like I said, you've got the debt, you've got the bullying, the fear, intimidation, bullying, and violence. Some of these prisoners might be mentally ill as well, and them self-medicating. It's sort of that domino effect with the drugs and everything. And this officer is allegedly, got to use that word, part of that. The conduct is, I think the proper word is like malfeasance in a public office, corrupt whilst holding a public office. Misconduct in a public office, whatever you want to call it. More will come out in the wash, guys. She could end up, depending on when the police download her phones, it could open a network and other things, and other charges could be laid at her doors. Let's see. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.